Welcome to the conversation part of the Upper Bowl podcast. We have recurring guest, friend of the program. I like to say another Northeast guy at heart, who we like to say we kind of infiltrate South Florida, a bunch of Northeast guys anyways. He calls soccer up for Fox Sports. He's doing a couple big games this week on Fox Sports for the MLS. I'd like to welcome back to the program, Joe Malfa. Joe, how we doing? And have you enjoyed your second round of the playoffs for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs?
First of all, thank you for the Northeast at heart thing, because no matter how long I've been living in Florida now for work, that is still very much where my heart is. And
Yes.
I get to go back in a couple of weeks to visit, and I'm excited for it. But yes, second round of the playoffs I was more locked in. The first round this year, it came at a bad time for work, and there was still a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth from the Rangers just completely going south this year. So I needed like a week or two to just, after Sam Rosen retired and then playoffs started, I needed a week or two to kind of decompress. I was rooting for my Caps fan friends. I locked in the second round, and now I'm all on board. So we're in a good spot now.
I'm gonna say I personally hate the Carolina Hurricanes. I've told this to everybody because it used to be Hartford's team, and people's like, "Why do you hate us?" It's like, you wear the Whalers jersey. This is like the Baltimore Ravens and the old Cleveland Browns unis. Would you do that? And like, oh, it was like, so I don't like the Carolina Hurricane fans. So I'm like,
you get the weird crossovers though now, because like, right, you get it used to be the Coyotes could wear the Jets throwbacks when they played the Jets, but now that's Utah. So like, would Utah wear Coyotes or Jets throwbacks? You get this whole circle of like cross-pollinated throwbacks. Like
or the new Jets could wear the Atlanta Thrashers.
Exactly.
Jersey.
You could have it. Well, in theory, you could have, maybe still can, had a game on the ice where it was one team wearing the Jets jerseys, one team wearing the Thrashers jerseys, and the team who was wearing the Jets jerseys was not the Jets. So
yes,
they got to straighten that out. And now there's still rumblings that if the league goes to 32 teams, that Atlanta may be coming back, and you could just have a whole nother thing where whatever.
I will if they go to Atlanta again for a third time.
Third time's a charm.
No, I've had Ralph Stranges on here, the old play-by-play voice for the Stars. There's some things they did right. Atlanta was wrong twice, anyways. We should not do it. Just throw it in Houston. I'm at the point.
I feel like this is way off topic. I'm sorry I derailed you here, but
no, really, we like to be derailed on this podcast. Not the derailed podcast back in the day. But
the next expansion for NHL to me is very, very evident. It's got to be Quebec, because Old Nordiques, like, they got a good fan base. You know they're going to succeed. That's the one. And the second one, you can make the case for a couple of cities. You can make the case for a couple, but I feel like the easiest one of them's got to be Quebec. That's simple.
Yeah. If you do Quebec, then you just do Houston, because then you can bump one of the teams in the South. Like, you can move up Nashville into the Atlantic Division, just redo all the divisions again for the
exactly.
Fine. All right. The reason why you're here is, like, me and you, we have to deal with a bunch of Leaf fans. I've been the most critical of the Toronto Maple Leafs since 2003, 2004. I'm probably the only one.
I was about to say, when were you born? Because that's probably what you've been critical of the Leafs since.
1992. I was born in June 6, 1992. So I've had to deal with Leaf fans since my whole entire life. Then they missed the playoffs for almost a decade. And I always say, like, you haven't done shit since 2003, 2004, 2000, or I'd say 2002, since when you had Curtis Joseph and Matt Sundin. You guys still have not done shit since that, anyways. Is Austin Matthews the biggest disgrace of a captain for a team and also the face for USA Hockey? That dude's a fucking milk carton.
I mean, yeah, like this is something that I feel like every now and then comes up through the history of this game, where you have a guy who's just naturally quiet and would very much like to just be a goal scorer who doesn't wear a letter. But because he's the best player on the team, there's a natural inclination to give him the letter. Yeah. So that there's Austin Matthews, the captain, which is not great. There's Austin Matthews, a player who, if he stays healthy, possibly breaks Ovi's record when all is said and done of the goal scoring. He's on the pace, and if he stays healthy in this day and age, he can do it. So separating the two is tough, and I try to put myself in the mind of a Leafs fan, which is a scary place to be, I guess, the way things have been for them. I don't think I want to be there, and I'm already out after 2 seconds of trying that. But it's tough. Like, he's going to be always sort of an outcast there because he's not Canadian, and that's just always going to be a stigma that he carries with him as the Leafs captain. And disappearing in the big moments obviously doesn't help out. But I feel like if he just had the weight of the sea lifted off of his chest and put it on somebody else, although they had that with Tavares and then gave it to Matthews,
Mhm.
I feel like it would open him up. But that's kind of the problem of where they're at, where he is the guy. And I think, like, obviously there's talk of the Marner trade, and he's probably, or Marner just leaving rather, and that seems like it's logical. Whoever they bring in to kind of replace that with the salary gap they're going to have, get a captain, get a guy who's a captain, give the C to him. Let Matthews wear an A if he wants to, and he could always just say it's for his first initial, and not that he's part of the leadership group, and let him just bang in 60 goals, and that's it.
I'm at that point with I'm like, they're going to lose Mitch Marner. I have a few destinations I will bring to you later when we talk about free agencies. They're losing him and Tavares, pretty most likely, which would be really interesting. I just think Austin Matthews is like, I think you make great points. He's American, which is like, they've never had a true great American player ever for the Maple Leafs. It's always like a Swede, a Canadian,
Right.
and somebody else, pretty much. And when you look at it, it's like if Austin Matthews was doing this somewhere else, he would not be getting killed. Anyways, he would, like, if he was in Boston, he would probably get the most media criticism next to Toronto. Anyways, am I right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Rangers just went through this the last couple of years. Even though we went to the conference final last year, through that run, there were moments where Zibanejad switched off, and there were moments where Panarin switched off after he was good, and then he picked it back up. There was a moment where he switched off, and in those moments, even as bad as the New York media tends to be,
Yeah.
they still didn't get killed as much as Matthews did. So it's just a bad situation. Like, it's the only thing. I don't want to say, I mean, no disrespect to the Raptors who just won a title, and the parade after that was fantastic, or the Blue Jays who just signed Vladdy, and they're kind of a middling team. Toronto is a Leaf city. It's plain and simple. As a Leaf city, it is a hockey country. So no matter what the other teams do, it's all about the Leafs. The Raptors could rattle off 7 straight NBA titles, while the Blue Jays were in the midst of a 7 straight World Series, and the Toronto Argonauts won 5 straight Grey Cups. But if the Leafs don't do anything in that span, fans aren't going to be happy. It's that simple.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. My other question for you: should Brendan Shanahan be shown the door since this team hasn't stiffed a conference final since 2002?
That one's tough. I mean, there's so many mitigating circumstances between injuries or little things here or there, and I mean, just the idea of the playoffs. Which, by the way, I don't mind the playoff format. I know people would rather see the 1 through 8. I don't mind it, because at the end of the day, you know, the Avs Stars, for example.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go against each other at some point. If those are, in people's minds, the 2 best teams, whether it's in the conference final or the first round, you got to go through it. I'd rather face it early while you're healthier and you're fresher. Just my thought. But that being said, they've had to go through tough Bruins teams early in the playoffs. They've had to go through tough, whether it's Hurricanes or Panthers teams earlier in the playoffs. So the idea of not getting to the conference final because of what I just said, if this were an older playoff format, maybe they do get there. Maybe they have an easier first or second round instead of having to go through the Atlantic Division opponents, and maybe they get there. So I don't know that conference finals anymore can be that measuring stick for teams just because of the format. But to your point, yeah, it's alarming. But he's always put together good teams. If the Leafs had a year where they were just down or missed the playoffs or just got dog walked in the first round by a team they shouldn't have lost to, sure. But every time they've lost, for the most part, it's been to a better or adjacent team like the Bruins, like the Panthers, like the Canes, or the Lightning, exactly. So it's not like they've dipped down and lost to a team. It's not like they lost to an 8-seeded Canadians team in the opening round or something like that. Like, they've lost to good teams.
Yeah, so if it was 1 through 8, Toronto would have played the New Jersey Devils first round. They probably
would have swept them. Probably
would have swept them. Probably. Then they would probably play the winner of the 3-6. Would you say, or is that?
I guess it would have been 4-5. Yeah, 4-5.
4-5 will probably be the Panthers, anyways.
Okay, well, exactly. So, and to the people who want to change the format back, in the end of the day, you're probably going to get most of the same second round matchups anyway. So
your 4-5 would have been the classic old Southeast Division matchup.
Exactly.
Of the Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, which we have in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Exactly. So the people who want to change the format, go touch grass. Like, what are we doing here?
Kick rocks, as we like to say. Do you think there's too many me guys since they all got their contracts? Like, Matthews got his deal, William Nylander got his deal, and Mitch Marner got his deal a couple of years ago too. Now he's a free agent. Is there too many me guys that wants to be I'm the face of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's no we at all?
So that's a better question. I think that could be part of it. I also think that there's no toughness, because, like, those guys that you just mentioned, I don't think any one of them, especially in this day and age where you're seeing the success of the Panthers with Tkachuk, and even the Capitals with Tom Wilson, in Boston with Marchand, as much of a prick as he can be, now obviously on the Panthers, like, these teams have a guy like that. And that was part of the issue, I think, last year for the Oilers, and maybe something they run into again where they don't have that. So it's a bunch of me guys for Toronto not being in their locker room. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not entrenched there, but it could be that. But it's also like it's just guys who are traditionally finesse, and a lot of people in their minds equate finesse with soft, and maybe that's valid. But they're finesse guys who could also be me guys who also just got paid, and it's kind of a bad recipe of you know what, when the chips are down, are they going to lay the wood in the corner like a Kachuk would? Are they going to start something at the stereotypical, we just lost the playoff game, so now we're going to start a fight with 6 seconds left in the game? Nobody on the Leafs doing that. There's a reason they brought in Ryan Reeves to try and do that, and it didn't work because that guy can't really play hockey too well. And we learned that on the Rangers with him and Rempe, and it's nice to have that guy, but then you got to play hockey, and they don't do so well at that, and then you lack the bite, and it's just on those finesse guys.
Yeah, definitely. So here, like, since you brought up the free agency, they need a little toughness. Sam Bennett's a free agent. Like, I like to say this is a decent free agency class. You have Marner, Nikolai Ehlers, Tavares, Bennett, Brock Besser, Aaron Ekblad, Brad Marchand. Would you be shocked if the Leafs go after Bennett and Aaron Ekblad to get toughness on their line? They just sign more former Panthers.
I could see that. There was a funny quote. I don't remember which writer just said it the other day, and I don't want to attribute it to the wrong one, but there was a writer who said Bennett hasn't gotten suspended in Florida, but if he went to Toronto, he gets suspended 50 times. So maybe that's part of the issue. Interestingly enough, I think of the group you mentioned, the one that kind of sticks out to me as the most interesting is Marchand going back to play in Canada finally. Although
I kind of want to see him go to Montreal though.
True. I don't know how much after the Bruins and Maple Leafs rivalries of the day, how much the Maple Leafs fans would welcome him with open arms. And I honestly just think he's re-signing with Boston, by the way, when all is said and done here. I think he got traded. They got their chips. They got their first round pick out of it now, and he's just going to end up back there. So.
Well, there's breaking news. Don Sweeney's got a 2-year extension, so I would not be shocked if that does happen. By the way,
see, breaking news on the pod. There you go.
We got breaking news anyway, so that's going crazy. My big thing with the Leafs is I go by this: they can't pick a goalie. Like, they have Wall, who's not bad. Stolarz was good before he got concussion. Could you say the concussion from the slap shot changed everything for the Leafs after game 2?
Oh, I had to. I mean, that changed the momentum in the feel of the series. And again, it back to the point of finesse and not tough guys, that left sort of a dark mark because of everything that happened with Bennett. And did Bennett have any impact on the concussion? And obviously, like, there's no way of officially, I suppose, knowing that. But then the series ratcheted up a notch in terms of the toughness and the physical play because they were upset about it. And then what? Once the series took on that extra bite, it was no longer a Leafs series. So that's certainly part of it. And we've seen this, I mean, year over year. Like, these teams, not even just the Leafs, but other teams around the league, while they're figuring out their goaltending issues, they struggle in the playoffs. When they figure it out, they do well in the playoffs. I mean, see Dallas Stars and Jake Ottinger taking over. See, these last couple of years when the Oilers finally settled on a goalie that got hot. It's every year. It's the same story. When you find a guy, and the Leafs haven't found the guy.
Is it also bad that they traded Nazem Kadri way too late? Because they could have used him in these kind of playoffs because they traded him for Tyson Barrie. Has not been the same since.
That's one of those things that was damn if you do, damn if you don't. At the time, people felt like they needed to. In hindsight, it was the wrong move. And it's I guess that kind of calculation or miscalculation you have where sometimes it's just how the chips fall. And like maybe if they would have never run into the Panthers, say the Lightning would have won that series against the Panthers. Lightning, completely different team. Leafs maybe win that series. And maybe now we're talking about a Leafs team that's in the conference final. So you don't need it until you need it. And it was the same last year with my Rangers. I genuinely think of the 16 teams in the playoffs between both conferences, so 15 excluding the Rangers, there was only one team that would have beaten the Rangers in a 7-game series, and it was Florida Panthers, who we happen to run into in the conference final. So we run into anybody else, we're probably sitting here. I probably got a banner hanging right over here on my wall about the Cup last year. So I'm not going to say the Leafs only had one team that could have beaten them, and it was the Panthers. There were probably 3 or 4 teams, if you drafted them all together, that would have picked above the Leafs this year. But sometimes you run into one of those teams, and that's it.
Do you think Craig Berube was the right guy that Toronto hired? People are saying he's kind of Mike McCarthy-ish, would you say?
No, I think he's the right guy.
I like the guy. I would have taken him as a head coach for a few teams anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Mike McCarthy thing is interesting. Like, I've seen that come up too. I think the difference is, like, if you're going to kind of equate one to the other, Mike McCarthy was carried to a championship by Aaron Rodgers and that team, and it was never really like you can't definitively say, hey, he did this, and he underachieved a lot. Craig Berube spurred a St. Louis Blues team that was completely left for dead to a Stanley Cup, and he can bring that sort of energy and vibe and toughness to a team. Problem is, the players don't match the coach, and that's an issue sometimes teams grapple with. There's this thing, obviously, in hockey, we've seen it forever, where coaches get recycled. But sometimes the players don't fit the coach. It's why the Rangers, again, I'm always going to keep coming back to the Rangers because it's obviously the team that I know best, but and it happens to equate to this situation, right? Last 2 years, Laviolette, first year it worked, second year it didn't. Go back before that, 2 years of Gerard Gallant, first year it worked, made the conference final, second year it didn't. So it's good for that initial jolt, but if the players pool or if the player pool doesn't match your head coach, you're eventually going to run into a problem. Now I'm happy we got Sullivan because I think Sullivan's style matches the player pool. Now they got to shake the tree a little bit and tweak a couple of things after the way things went sour this past year. But now you have a coach that matches the identity, and Berube matched the identity in St. Louis. They won a cup. I don't think he quite matches the identity in Toronto, where you maybe could have used more of a finesse, fun, beautiful hockey type of guy. Yeah. But now you have an offseason to know where your shortcomings were. And I think Berube's a fine guy for the job as long as they tweak some things here or there.
Yeah, definitely. If they get another D-man, they'll be good anyway. Yeah. So let's be honest here. That's
and a goalie.
I feel like the Leafs haven't found a good goalie since Curtis Joseph when they got him in 1999. I said that to people down here, and they looked like, really? He's like, go look at the goalie history, please.
They're shocked. There's probably a lot of fun names that would pop up if you look at that list.
Post Curtis Joseph, Ed Belfour is a good one, by the way. There's some good ones, I'll say. That's a Toskala too. All right. Eastern Conference Finals, Hurricanes, Panthers. I'm glad it's on TNT because it's not on ESPN because ESPN would have puked all over themselves. They had to watch horrible. Can we say hockey by the Carolina Hurricanes? It's very New Jersey Devils, late 90s, early 2000s trap style almost.
It's very much that. It's not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing series. It's going to be a series for people who like 2-1 games, or people who like double shutouts that go to overtime and end up 1-0. I'll tell you that much. It's very much the old-timey hockey series of the two series that we have remaining now. So if you want to see goals and fun, go watch the Stars and Oilers. If you want to see old-timey hockey, park it on TNT for Canes and Panthers.
Yeah, I go by this. This is my interest. Even though I have to produce some of these games, I have a zero interest in the game because I hate the Carolina Hurricanes. Everyone knows.
And the bad thing for you, I don't want to wish this on you, and hopefully I'm giving you a reverse jinx here because the teams are so tight. There's a decent chance that you're probably sitting in there for a couple of overtime and double overtime games in the booth, waiting, praying for that game to end.
I'm not gonna lie. When Game 3 went to overtime, I went like this. I threw a pen in the air. It's like, well, great. Anyways, didn't get home till like 12:30, quarter to 1.
Get used to it.
Not fun at all. I feel like this could go either 5 or 6. If it goes 4, I'll be shocked.
Oh, you think so? I think it goes 7. I think it goes the whole way. Yeah, I think with how tough these teams are and how tight they are, I think there's just at the very least 6. I don't see it ending in 4 or 5 for sure. Definitely not 4. 5 unlikely. The only way I can see this ending in 5 is like there's been series throughout the years that do end in 5, but like they weren't really 5-game series. Like if you look at it, there was a couple of overtime games, bounce here, bounce there. The Rangers Stanley Cup in 2014 when they were up against the Kings, that ended in 5 games. 4 of the 5 games went to overtime. 2 of the 4 overtime games went to double overtime. So that wasn't a 5-game series. That was a very tight series. So that's what I can see this one being, where if it ends early, it's because it's tight and it's overtime and stuff like that. I say 7. I actually lean Canes. Getting to a pick, if that was your next question, spoiling it here. I lean Canes just because I think this is where the Panthers run out of steam. Where I think 3 straight years making deep runs like this catches up to them. At some point, it does. It always does. It did for the Lightning when they went in that cup against the Avalanche. Like when you make this many deep runs, it wears on you. And they're coming off a grueling 7-game series. They ended it quick against the Lightning, but that was a tough series. And like we talked about before, the Canes are going to wear you down. Yeah. They're the closest thing to the Panthers as the Panthers stylistically. Agreed. And that's where I think they run out of gas. Finally here, it goes deep, it goes 6, it goes 7. the Canes just drag them under, and that's it.
Who do you think is TNT rooting for since they have the Cup final this year?
Oh, for me, I think it's very, very clearly the Panthers, just because the idea of a repeat. And on the other side, the other side's an interesting one because so all right, me personally, I want Kane Stars because I want the Rantanen story.
Yes.
Now, from a rating standpoint for TNT, they for sure, I think, want the Panthers. Not great markets either way in Carolina or South Florida, but it's a little bit better, I would say, in Florida, just in terms of TV ratings, and also the idea of a repeat Stanley Cup champion. On the other side, you have your choice of a much better TV market in Dallas, or a Stanley Cup rematch with the best player on the planet. So that's an interesting one. I think for sure they want the Panthers, and I think it's a coin flip when it comes to Stars versus Oilers because it's TV market versus appeal of McDavid in a rematch. So as long as the Panthers are in it, I don't think TNT really cares who wins the West.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, anyways. Because like I'm
logistically,
I'm going Lee Corso here, not Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit. I'm like, whatever happens, anyways. I don't want someone to go clickbait on
logistically, this. Even little things like travel, I'm sure it's easier to get to Dallas than it is to Edmonton. So,
oh my God.
From that perspective, maybe they want Dallas. But
there's me. All the people last year is like, oh, we want Dallas because the travel's easy. Like, you know what? I want miserable travel and happy sportscasters down here in Miami. They had to find a ways to get to Edmonton. I was laughing half the time. I was like, you put this on yourself anyways. For me, honestly, since we'll go to the West, round two, it's a late 90s, early 2000s rivalry. I'm kind of more interested in this series because it's like, I get to watch it more. The Mikko Rantanen was on a heater, and going up against McDavid's even more of appeal, would you say?
I think so. I mean, that's going to be fun. Anyway, you slice it. It's going to be fun. Again, it's the opposite of the other series. It's just going to be fun. The other one is not going to be fun. It's like that meme with where the bus is coming down the mountain and the dude's looking out the one window and it's all sunshine and rainbows. And the other side, it's all dark and gloomy. That's the two series we have right now in the conference final.
Definitely. I think, how impressive are you with Mikko Rantanen since he got to Dallas?
Incredibly. It's like a whole weight has been lifted off of him. And I think we're going to look back on this as like a very funny year, almost like when Piazza went briefly to the Marlins before he came to the Mets. Like, it's like, oh, what happened there? But it's for him to complete the revenge tour too of possibly Avalanche and then Hurricanes. That'd be one for the ages.
Did you enjoy that game set versus Mikko Rantanen did on versus the Avs? That was like pure like art. I would like watch this with I was texting my buddy who was like he's a podcast producer for one of the shows in Dallas. I was like, well, this thing looks over. It's like. Then a goal happened and another goal happened. I was like, holy crap. I did not see this happening at all.
I was completely in awe. I've not seen something like that. And obviously people want to dress it up and call it a hat trick. He scored an empty netter with 2 seconds left, but the two goals he scored and the moments he did and the way he scored them, incredible stuff.
Yeah, incredible. Stars of home ice in this series. Does it matter, you think, or no?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we go back and forth on this every year statistically. I mean, just look at the last round actually in the East. Was it the East? There was a little stretch there where like it was just all road teams winning. So it's you don't know exactly is it good, is it bad? Who knows? I mean, if you look at the study over like the last 10 years, what home ice is, I don't think it's that drastic of a shift. Certain teams are certainly better at home, but in this particular series, I don't think it matters too much.
Definitely, for sure. How impressive you with Miro Heiskanen back in the line after he's been out since January after that Mark Stone hit onto the knee.
I will never, ever understand how hockey players not only, tough out the things they do because I'm a wimp, but beside that, the way they can just step back in without missing a beat. And I'm sure we'll find out when the Stars season ends that he's still dealing with something. So I can't fathom it. I'm incredibly impressed and kudos to him because I could never do that. That's awesome.
I was shocked too because I thought he was like, we're not like I was talking with Ralph Strangers on here. Like, I don't think he's going to show up at all. I'm like at that point, like if he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he does. I'm not going to be mad.
You think he's going to be a decoy and that's it, maybe at the most, but like to come in and play the way I don't understand it. I will never understand how hockey players do it without missing a beat the way they do.
Well, I was shocked that they went 11-7 like those last 3 games. It was like 4, 5, and 6. It was like I know one thing, you cannot do that against McDavid.
No, nope.
So I think who do you like in this series? Honestly,
I was initially on board with Dallas, just because of the goaltending and because. I was initially very on board with Dallas, where I felt like it was easily their way. Oilers, again, through the last couple of years, like they've always kind of surprised me as they've gotten deeper and deeper, because
they've got a lot better this year in the playoffs. I'll say that.
they've gotten more playoff hockey oriented this year, and they're deeper and they're harder. But I'm still, I gave you my pick before. I thought I said it was going to be my pick is Canes and Dallas, but it's closer than I thought it was initially. I'll tell you that. Like coming into it, I felt more confident about Dallas, and as I've seen, different coverage on TV and articles put out, some of the deeper stats and analytics, there were some things, I guess, that I wasn't realizing on the eye test for the Oilers that they're doing a lot better this year versus last year's postseason. I'm still sticking Stars. I'm still riding with Ottinger. I'm still riding with Rantanen, and just kind of the way they're doing it right now. So much of playoff hockey, and this is just finding ways. The Stars are finding ways. Whereas the Oilers just don't feel like they have been as tested and as pushed as the Stars have been, where I think in a lot of people's mind, that first series with the Avalanche, that kind of was the conference final. And, and then after that, then, to just kind of come off that series and keep it going, to where they are now, that's a really big momentum driver where, hey, we just got through Colorado, which was most people's Stanley Cup pick. We're still here. So that confident mindset is super helpful. Again, I was initially Stars. I stay Stars, but I wasn't as confident in it as I was when this all started because of some of the research I've done on the Oilers.
Yeah, I feel the weird thing with these Oilers teams is like McDavid and Draisaitl aren't scoring. It's their bottom six that's scoring. Scares me.
Right. But at the same token, it's almost like in baseball where your guys can be hot at the same time and also cold at the same time, and you're hoping one picks up the slack for the other, but it doesn't always work out that way. Is it something where the Stars can mitigate the bottom six of the Oilers, but then, all right, well now we need McDavid to be McDavid and Draisaitl to be Draisaitl. Will they be, or will they continue what's been, again, by their standards, I use air quotes, a slump? For them, it's certainly a slump the way things have been. Does it go completely cold, or does it flip now where those guys get hot, bottom six falters? And then if that happens, is those two guys being hot with the bottom six faltering enough, or can the Stars withstand that? So I don't know. It's going to be a fun one.
It's gonna be very fun. I think if this goes 7, I think ABC is a winner. That's why they want this series to go 7 no matter what. And plus, I gotta say this: seeing the game 3 and 4 on Memorial Day weekend in Edmonton is gonna look like a weird thing for if you're a Dallas fan going up to Edmonton for that series. I'll say that for sure. I want to get to you some league news with you anyway, since we both care about the league so much. What were your thoughts when Joel Quenneville being named head coach for the Anaheim Ducks? Because I thought he would at least go to the Rangers or another team at least.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, I guess like, obviously, you can't have this conversation without the big black eye and staying on his mark from everything that happened with the Blackhawks. Like, it's interesting how different teams viewed it. All the reports that kind of came out of the Rangers was they want no part of that. They want no part of that history. They wanted no part of that baggage that comes with it. The Ducks bit because it's teams in different positions, right? Like, the Rangers would have as an original 6 team, New York. They're going to have their pick of the litter in terms of coaching, and they got the best coach in the market. Where they can say no to that baggage. It's the Anaheim Ducks we're talking about. Like they've tried many different ways since the days of Timo Solani to try and be relevant again, and nothing has quite worked out the way they would hope it would work out.
If they go back to Randy Carlo after this thing with Joel Quenneville, I will laugh. How about that?
I mean, yeah, he's a great coach. There's no arguing that. He said all the right things in his press conference afterwards. The league has cleared him. So there is no wrongdoing by the Ducks in taking that plunge. Me personally, I don't think I would have done that if I were in that position. I think he had his chance. He blew his chance. He did something that, he's tried to cover. I mean, cover up's the wrong word, but like afterwards, he tried to retrace his steps. He's apologized. He said things that now when you look back were clearly lies. Again, league absolved him. Ducks did something they were allowed to do. I also don't think it was an accident that they announced that head coaching hire the day the Pope was elected. Talk about the all-time news dump. That tweet came out. Go back and check the timestamps. They officially announced him as the head coach right around the time the white smoke came up on that day. So what does it say about when you want to bury a big news dump like that? But
choose the Pope day.
They did it. They did it, and that's it. I guess all you can hope for now is that Quenneville's learned. The victims in the case, hopefully, got their point across and helped. That's the wrong way to phrase it. Get their point across, but hopefully they brought it to light, and what happened then is not an issue that ever happens again going forward, and he's learned from it and can be better for it.
Definitely. What's your thoughts on Rick Tocchet going to choosing the Philadelphia job? Because he had the Boston job was available. I thought it was a better job to take, honestly.
Yeah, that some of the wording that came out afterwards on that, as far as choosing, was interesting, because I would have probably certainly chosen Boston given the two, and now the ammunition that Boston has from selling off. It's got to be something behind the scenes, relationships, front offices, and you mentioned before the news about the front office for Boston. Maybe there was an uncertainty there, or not seeing eye to eye there. There was also a lot of people questioning why Tocchet's getting another job after he had flamed out the way it did in Vancouver. But a lot of people went to bat for him as far as being a player's coach. And again, that's hockey. Like, Laviolette, Gallant, all these guys, they recycle. It just happens. Peter DeBoer, he recycles, and he's made 6 of the last 7 Western Conference Finals, I think it is, something like that.
Yeah,
so
that is correct. And getting fired in between there too, also.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is. Like, I don't. I'm not surprised that he was already fired from Vancouver. I'm not surprised that he's already hired. If it was a clear choice between the two, I would always pick Boston, and they just have a better track record of success and seem set up better. But it had to be something behind the scenes, relationship here, relationship there, that we don't know about.
Definitely. Where do you think John Tortorella is going back to TV, or do you think he's going to take another coaching job?
I don't think he's getting another head coaching job.
Okay.
He's fantastic on TV. At his age and his love for the game, I could see him taking an assistant job. I was kind of surprised that it wasn't announced in tandem that he would be the assistant for Mike Sullivan, because of his relationship both with the Rangers and with Sully, where a dozen years ago, Sully was Tort's assistant on the Rangers. And you look at the Four Nations thing, Torts was Sully's assistant. They're very close. I think head coaching has passed him by. He's fantastic on TV. He'd rather be behind a bench. I think he does end up as an assistant somewhere. Again, surprised it wasn't the Rangers initially. Could down the line end up being that anyway, but I think he'll be an assistant coach.
What's your thoughts on Chris Pronger doing television the second round anyways? I think he was not bad.
I didn't see him enough. I genuinely did not see him enough. Like, I was locked in for the games, and a lot of the coverage around the games I did not catch. Just the nature of this. This is why I cannot wait for Memorial Day, because this has been my busiest work month, I think, ever, which is a good thing, not complaining. But it has limited my ability to consume other content besides just the game. And I've had to watch a lot of the games on mute while I'm prepping for my own game. So I cannot give you an honest answer for that.
That's crazy. All right, promote yourself. What games are you calling from MLS on Fox this week?
This weekend, I will be on Seattle, Dallas. Actually, before this weekend, I guess I'm not sure exactly when this is coming out, but U.S. Open Cup Thursday. Okay, well, we would have just had a U.S. Open Cup on Tuesday and Wednesday, so scratch that. But this weekend, Seattle and Dallas. That's at 3 Eastern time, I believe. I got to get my days straight. Got a couple games between now and then. And then looking ahead to next week, I have the San Jose LA Galaxy on Wednesday the 28th, and that is seemingly far away because Memorial Day is in between, but I got to start working on that game. So thank you for the reminder.
No problem. Joe Malfa, always good talking to you. We'll see you on, if you see Joe on television, tweet a picture out. We'll retweet it on the Upperville podcast. We'll do it cool anyways. By the way, good work with Tony Mioli, by the way. USA soccer legend, by the way.
He's the best. Yeah, he's great to work with. Great guy. Love working with him.
All right. Take care, Ben.
Thank you.